As Brenda was taken away in handcuffs, the community exploded in cheers that could have energized the city's power grid. The tyrant had fled, justice had been served, peace was returned, or at least so we believed, on the courthouse steps. Newscasters shoved microphones under my nose. Neighbors embraced like we were Super Bowl champions, and for the first time in months, Willowbrook Estates was alive once more. But as the sun began to set, casting the horizon in hues of gold and flame, I saw a black SUV parked at the opposite end of the parking lot. Tinted windows, engine purring, staring, the neighbors departed, one by one. Cameras were packed up. The throngs dwindled to just me, the Camaro, and that silent car some ways off. And when it finally moved on, leaving only the faint scent of fumes in the night air, one envelope was stuck to my windshield. No return name. Stamps. Only one sentence written across the front in angry red ink. This isn't over. I stood there, frozen, heart racing as the wind strengthened, carrying the words like a warning through the deserted parking lot. Because perhaps only, Brenda was not the only one hiding something. Officer Rodriguez gave me the once-over, like a man attempting to piece together a puzzle with missing pieces. His hand was inches from his belt, but his eyes remained level-headed. "Okay, sir," he said. "Let's see what you've got." I moved slowly to my workbench, where my 3-ring binder was full of receipts, photos, and paperwork. My hands were not shaking because my dad taught this to me since I was a child. Keep records. Records speak louder than words. I opened the binder to the front page. Pictures of the Camaro as I first found it. Rusted, busted, half buried in weeds at that estate sale. Next page. The bill of sale signed by the owner with the dates and signatures as plain as day. "This is the original title," I said, holding it out so Rodriguez could see the name. My name. Behind me, Brenda coughed like a hot radiator. "He forged those documents." "I just purchased that vehicle." Rodriguez went through every page deliberately. Receipts from the engine. Invoices for the paint. Before and after pictures of my garage, my tools, my sweat on every aspect of that build. "Ma'am," he said at last, turning to Brenda, "do you have any record of your purchase?" She blinked. Her mouth opened and closed. "Well, no, but the dealer told me the car was arriving next week." Rodriguez arched an eyebrow. "Did he give you a bill of sale?" Silence. "A title?" More silence, ma'am. "This seems to be this gentleman's vehicle." Brenda's complexion turned the same color as week-old chili. "You're making a mistake, officer. That is my car." The young cop Morgan leaned in towards Rodriguez, speaking softly, but loud enough for me to hear. "She talks like my aunt after 3 margaritas." Rodriguez snapped my binder shut. "Sir, all appears fine." "Sorry for the disruption." I nodded, but my stomach was still churning. Disruption that seemed too mild for having half the police force. Arrived prepared to cuff me in my own driveway. Brenda wasn't finished. "I want you to arrest him," she screamed, pointing at me. Rodriguez's voice dropped an octave. "Ma'am, false reports to emergency services are a serious matter." 4. The first time Brenda's mouth stayed shut, the flashing lights finally faded as the patrol cars pulled away, leaving me with a pounding heartbeat. And Brenda vibrating on her lawn like a cell tower with bad reception. I thought maybe, just maybe, that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Because 2 days hence, a letter came in my mailbox on official HOA. Letterhead. Notice of violation, it stated in capital letters. Unauthorized motor vehicle activity on property. Cease and desist immediately, or be fined. I stood on my porch holding the paper, feeling my pulse rise into treacherous territory. This was not finished. Not by a long way. The odor of motor oil and metal shavings still persisted on my uniform as I arrived at my driveway. After 12 long hours of work at the shop, I was totally exhausted and only cared to see my baby. My 1967 Camaro SS that I had invested 18 months in restoring to its former glory. I pressed the garage remote. The door creaked open to show chrome that was blinding and paint so rich that it seemed like you could jump into it. That is when my world was turned upside down. Someone shouted out, "Call 911. He stole my car." My neighbor Brenda, president of the HOA, burst across the lawn like a wild animal, cell phone already in her hand. "Yes, there is a black man stealing my car at the moment. Send everyone." Police sirens were already wailing in the distance. She had already called them before even greeting me. I stood there in my own driveway with my own keys in my hand, looking at my own car, ready to be arrested for stealing my own car. What would you do if your neighbor legalized the abuse of power by the police at your own home? I am Marcus. I am a third-generation mechanic. My grandfather taught my dad, and my dad taught me. We have kept this town running for 60 years. When my divorce was finalized this past spring, after my ex-wife concluded grease under the nails was no longer sexy, I spent what remained of my money on a small home in Willowbrook Estates, a middle-class HOA neighborhood, where the grass is immaculate, the mailboxes are all identical, and everyone keeps to themselves. Or so the realtor assured me. The Camaro was not just a midlife crisis novelty. I came across it at an estate sale. A rusted Hulk most folks would have towed to the junkyard for $30. But I recognized potential. I recognized American power waiting to be given a second lease on life. $3,200 and she was mine. Every weekend of a year and a half became my own resurrection project. A new 350 small block engine. Rebuilt turbo 400 transmission. Total suspension overhaul. The paint job alone took 4 months of sanding and priming before the hugger orange finish could blind low-flying aircraft. Well, I saved every receipt. Took pictures of every gasket and bolt for insurance. Primer and gasoline became my weekend scent. And then there was Brenda Wilson, the self-appointed queen of Willowbrook. She came here 5 years ago and crowned herself HOA president. Nobody stood against her because nobody wanted the job. She had a white BMW that